Hello, hello, hello. We're here again today talking about the book, The Art of Returning to Love, How to Show Fear and Stress the Exit. Today we're going to talk about pain because it's something that we all, come across in our lives. So, and the reason I sort of found the topic of that for today is because last night I was going to go upstairs to give one of our cats a treat. This is a nightly ritual thing. And there was some shoes at the bottom of the first step that my own foot sort of like got tripped up on, and I went banging into the door jamb, and I had this I jammed my whole arm into the door jamb, and so that was like a corner, and my whole arm just radiated in pain. There was a little bit of nerve pain. There was definitely, I could feel the bruising from the inside, and it was pretty intense. And when we have something like that happen where it's so acute, it gets all of our attention, right? And what generally happens, so this is probably a medium version of the spectrum of things that can happen. We can stub our toe, have a hangnail, get a little paper cut, things like this. And then we can get into, farther down on the other end of the spectrum, more intense accidents or have higher levels of pain. And it's intense, right? And it's so easy for the human mind to become fully locked on that pain. And I am no exception to that. In this case, I thought I would try, because well, let me just take a little sidestep here and say that part of returning life to the frequency that is love, which is the entire fabric of the multiverse, is noticing when things are crossways of that vibration, right? So you can substitute that word for anything. You could substitute it for chi. You could substitute it for life force. If love is too makes you feel like too much of the idea of the romance or the sentimentality of love, then don't use that word. You can call it the sacred. You could call it divinity. You could call it whatever you want. But what I know is that, for the rest of this decade and probably beyond, our job as human beings is to reconcile the energy that is being presented to us with the vibration of love, right? That's why I wrote this book. And you have access to it in the links in the description. You can get it for free, or you can go to Amazon. It's a practice. So everything that presents itself. So wait, let me step back, and this is in the book. All of the fractals of life, all of the particles and waves of life are already the frequency or the vibration or the essence of this idea of love. It's not an idea, but if you want to, I say it that way because if you want to exchange it for spirit or sacred or life force or atomic energy, that's okay. Any of those mean the same thing. All of the energy is that, except for when humans change the vibration by way of our choice, right? By way of our thoughts, by way of our words, by way of our actions, by way of our beliefs, by way of our continuing to allow ourselves to be aligned with programming that isn't actually the largest truth. So when things present themselves to us, whether it's a situation or an accident or a thought process or a spinning in stress or an anxiety or anything like that, it's presenting us. I mean, it's our own making, right? So it's available to us to reconcile with love. And how do we do that? Well, that's what the whole book is about. But let me tell you what I did last night, and this might give you a little bit of an idea. And before I let it go to the very end of the video where I introduce myself, I just want to say, if we've not met, I'm Lori Morse, a 30-year practitioner of Chinese medicine and the director of the online Sacred Health Academy, where we walk a path, a journey, if you will, of bringing our sacred self into our healing and our transformation so that we can live without overwhelm and we can have vitality in our body and peace in our hearts, because that's really what we all want. And line those up in such a way that, our life is actually one that we can say in every pocket of our life is thriving. So where were we? So last night, so I go to bed. I was on my way to bed anyway. So I go to bed and the pain was strong, right? If you've ever seen Brian Regan's stand up on this, it's so funny. I think it's on his I Walked on the Moon video. He's a wonderful comedian, Brian Regan, Regan. Anyway, he talks about having to go to the hospital, and the nurse says, "Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain?" And he's like, "Oh my God, I don't know what to," in his head he's thinking this. I don't know what to say. I mean, they say childbirth is the worst, so I can't really choose 10. Like I'm a guy that wouldn't be cool. And then there's kidney stones, so I don't know. Maybe I'll say 8. So he says it's an 8. And she goes, "Oh, an 8," and she gives him all these pain medications, and after 10 or 15 minutes he's starting to feel pretty good, and he's in this like slotted part of the emergency room where there are just these I guess curtains, I guess he's surrounded by, and people are walking by to be put in another little section. He's like, "Say 8." Say 8, meaning they're going to give you the good stuff and you won't feel the pain anymore. Anyway, my pain last night was about at an 8, and I thought, but what I noticed is, and I was doing all these things like, oh my God, how am I going to sleep? This is going to wreck my sleep. I took some aspirin, which I hardly ever do. I probably take it, maybe a half a dozen times a year. But, I thought, well, I'm going to bed and I want to do anyway. So, and then I realized my right arm was perfect and felt so good. And I thought, well, I wonder what would happen if I just focused on my right arm and just appreciated how great my right arm felt, and love my arm, right? I can love both of my arms, even though this arm was in an 8 pain. And so I did that, and then after just a few moments, a few breaths, I don't even know how, it wasn't that long, I realized that the pain in this arm was really decreasing. And I thought, well, let me just keep doing that. I'll maintain my focus on this arm, not because I'm burying my head in the sand of this arm, but because this arm, you know, uh, uh, 15 minutes ago felt exactly like this arm did. So I'm gonna realize that this arm has the capacity to feel like this arm. I'm gonna love my arms. And I went to sleep and I woke up, and this is probably about a 4. I mean, there's definitely some bruising in there that'll have to work its way out, and I have some ways that I can do that. But the point is that when we go down the rabbit hole, and I've done this, so I know the difference, and I'm imagining that you have too. When we go down the rabbit hole, and then if it's something really intense that we don't really know what's going on, we go to Dr. Google and we freak ourselves out with everything that is going on in possibly could be going on in the situation, and then we lock the energy. We lock love or wholeness out of the focus of that energy. This is my point. When we don't do that, when we open up the energy and we include the vibration of love or wholeness or healing or transformation in the equation, it's a very different situation. And that matters because everything that's getting our attention deserves that, because that is the truth of life. And part of the section that we were on, where we left off from last time in the book, is your I am presence. So our higher presence, which is the representation of this wholeness and this perfection, if you will, and this capacity to heal and transform instantaneously, if we were to give ourselves permission to believe that that's possible, right? So this higher presence, this is life. This is the presence of light and love, or atomic life force, or chi, or the sacred, whatever word you want to put to it. Again, it doesn't matter what word you use, but it matters that you find a word that makes this energy feel alive in you. It makes it feel personal and universal all at the same time, and knowing that it's everything, that it's a dynamic force of energy that causes and creates all life, and has the capacity in any given moment to realign any part of life, arms, anything that's out of alignment in our own mind, body, and life, it has the capacity to realign it with this life force in a moment, in a breath, right? And this creates a level of wholeness in every human being that every heart, every mind, every being aches for. And this is a yearning that can never be satiated by anything else but the presence of life. And we've tried, right? We try all the time to access external things to give us this thing that we're looking for, that only this presence of life can give us. Now, I'm not saying aligned with this presence of life that we might not be guided, or the wisdom and intelligence of life may not line us up with something outside of ourselves, but first has to come our connection with this presence of life. We're already constantly connected because this presence of life, which is a complete whole light force, extends its energy as us, becomes our molecules, our cells, all of the operating systems that give me the capacity to be having this conversation with you right now, and you to be hearing it, and you to be feeling something as a result of it. Hopefully the opening of your head and your heart to go, okay, well, if that's the case, so this is how I do it. And I've said it this way before, and I did this last night. I was like, okay, my higher presence is already whole and perfect. So I'm going to invite this energy to flow into all of me and all of my arm all night long. I set that intention up before I went to sleep. I set the intention that the light energy that is flowing into me, that I'm inviting more of by my intention and my request, my summoning and my receiving, if you will. I asked it to be regenerating and healing every aspect of this part, my arm, my whole body. I ask for that every night actually, but I needed a little extra last night for the arm situation, as I've already said. So, and I got that, right? So if we're an extension of this energy, and we each of us are a unique facet of this presence, it makes every single part of who we are unique and glorious. Let me just say it that way. I don't have perfect skin, but that taught me over a long period of time that it's okay. I don't have to have model skin. I don't have to have, perfect skin to accept my uniqueness and my own version of beauty, because no leaf is the same in nature, and every leaf is beautiful, right? Like, I would use those analogies to teach me that it's okay that I don't have skin like other people who have perfect skin. We're all unique, and is my point. And it's that uniqueness and that, I don't know how else to say it, that unique facet of life that each of us are, that make us all already okay, perfectly acceptable, but we have to get on board with that, of course, right? And I can honestly tell you from every cell in my being, the depth of my heart, that as I have practiced continuing to connect with my higher presence and let that part of me, I let her teach me that this alignment gives me the wholeness that I already am. It changes a lot, and it helps me navigate life, right, in the best way, without being so scared of things. I mean, I do get scared, like last night I was thinking, oh my gosh, what if I were to, well, what if in 10 years when I'm 70 I fall and I break my hip? That pain must be terrible. And then I always think, this is a Buddhist Tonglen practice where I think, may all beings, I pray actually, may all beings have a pain-free body. May I have a pain-free body, and may all beings have a pain-free body. Because then it makes me think of, oh my gosh, what happened, when I would think about the hip thing. Well, there are people who are suffering from hip stuff. Anyway, I could go on and on about this, but what I want to invite you to consider is that this is a real thing. This is the energy that we're supposed to be managing. And every time we do this, we become more masterful at managing our energy. And my invitation to you is to try it. because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's actually a win-win-win proposition all the way around. And none of it can be done with impact and effectiveness and at the highest level without our connection. So as I am a broken record, let that be your first thing, which is constantly connecting. And ask your system to feel it. Ask your higher presence to help your system feel it. So you can literally feel the change in the moment of, a pain at a higher level to the dissipating of that pain to a much lower level. So that's my little chat for today. Please do let me know your thoughts, and if you do play with this, if you practice it, then give me your insights. What did you learn, and what were your ahas? And tell the people you care about, your family and friends, about these ideas, and even send them to some of these videos, because they seem fantastical, don't they? They seem like, "Oh, that's just not how it goes," and that the only reason we think that is because that's how we've always known it. But outside of that box of what we've always known are are ways of playing that we're just awakening to. And so I'm just inviting you to consider that there is more outside of that box than we recognize. So let me know if you have any questions about any of this too, and I will see you next week, same time, same book. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get through this book, but the the 88 pages that is the book is literally a lifetime's practice. So I'm not saying the rest of my life is going to be this book club, but I am saying it's that there's that much to unpack. So go grab your copy, and yeah, let's just keep having these conversations because they matter.